Okay, so it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our featured speaker for the day, Claudia Ayala. Claudia first joined the Little Village Environmental Justice Organization as a volunteer in its urban agriculture campaign at the peak of the fight for Little Village's first green open space park. Witnessing firsthand what a united community could accomplish and the importance grassroots community-led organizations such as LVJO's play in the environmental and social justice movement, Claudia now works as a public transit organizer and coordinator for LVEJO's public transit campaigns. It gives me great pleasure now, without further ado, to introduce Claudia Ayala.
Thank you, everybody, and I'm sorry I was late, but you know I'm Mexican if I'm late, right? 30 minutes late. I'm sorry, this traffic was crazy. But my name is Claudia Ayala, and I am currently a campaigns coordinator and community organizer for the Little Village Environmental Justice Organization. How many of you guys are familiar with Little Village? Okay. So we got a couple. Sometimes I say, who's familiar with Little Village? No one has ever heard it. It's not a village in Ukraine. It's actually on South Lawndale. So it's right around Central Park and 26th Street, La Villita. So this community is about 90 to 100,000 people, very densely populated. Over 51% of our population is under the age of 25. LVEJO is a non-for-profit organization, grassroots community organizations that's been just actually, their birthday was 2 months ago, 17 years. And we had the honor just recently, last month, April 15th, well, this month on April 15th, to be the recipient of the Goldman Environmental Award. It was issued to our executive director, Kim Wasserman, for her work in the Clean Air Ordinance and the Clean Power campaign. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Crawford and Fisk coal plant campaign. About a few years ago, it was about a 10 to 15 year campaign, and she just received the award, which is the highest award that one can receive for environmental justice. So we're very proud to have an executive director like Kim Wasserman in our organization. So before I get into some of the work that we do, I want to make sure that you understand that I'm here not to talk about the work that we do, but how important the work from undergrad has played in making sure that our campaigns have progressed. Because due to our limited funding, we get about 98% of our funding comes directly from private grants. So less than 2% comes from public grantees. So we rely heavily on community service organizations, fellow organizations, and most importantly also undergrads. We have a big membership of undergrad students from the community of Little Village and the neighboring communities that help us with some of the data and analysis that we need to do. So before I go ahead and get started in the campaign and how undergrads actually were able to assist, I'm going to show a real quick 1-minute video. Let me just pull it out on YouTube.
I asked every worker how they got to work. We have a mass transit system that needs investments.
For over 15 years, the neighborhoods of Little Village to the lake have been without a bus. Can you imagine one of the most densely populated parts of the city with no bus? Can you imagine going to work and your kids going to school, walking through some of the busiest thoroughfares along 31st Street, and perhaps some of the most violent neighborhoods in the city of Chicago? Recently, Chicago and the CTA have announced investments throughout the city. Bus rapid transit, multi-million-dollar train stations, complete renovation of the Red Line. But Little Village is left behind. The promised transit investments that have been made haven't arrived. It's the right of every Chicagoan, from 31st and the Lake to Little Village, to be entitled to the same resources as every other resident. So we ask, Are we not Chicago too?
Together, we can renew and strengthen our city, community by community, business by business, neighborhood by neighborhood, and block by block.
So that video right there was a combination of some work that both high school students and undergrads, particularly in the communications field, put together about 1 year ago when we started the campaign, and we took a different initiative. So originally the public transit campaign is centered around making sure that neighborhoods, particularly low-income and communities of color neighborhoods, have accessibility and connectivity in their area, because through research that we conducted, we found out that the more that a community has available connections or public transportation, the better or more enhanced their livability in that community is. So we wanted to make sure that accessibility is something, particularly in our community, that uses it for job access, that they have readily available. This campaign started about 6 years ago. Previously to that, I was only an independent consultant doing their communications for LVEJO, and about 2 years ago is when I transitioned as a full-time community organizer. So the difference was that the previous organizer had taken a more of a grassroots approach in uniting communities of color. But if you deal with somebody like the Chicago Transportation Authority, that's probably the last thing they want to hear, uniting communities of color. Probably frighten them to death. So what we decided to do is make it more of a youth initiative, because particularly this 31st Street bus, which runs from Cicero Avenue along that area, Cicero Avenue to an east-west route, all the way to the lakeshore. That's the proposed route that we had wanted to implement, is right on the corner of 31st Street and Costner, Little Village Lawndale High School, which is the largest. It's a 4-campus high school. Not as big as Moraine Valley, definitely, but it's pretty big, and it's very, very densely populated. And it was the only Chicago public school in the district that did not have service by a CTA service. So we definitely wanted to make sure that they owned this, because it was exactly so they could have accessibility. When we talk about accessibility, we're also talking about safety. Since we are in a community where there's 2 major street organizations, it's sometimes dangerous, and it doesn't really matter who you're with, but where you live. It's dangerous for youth to get to the school without having, safe transportation. Walking is not always an option or safe. So we went to the high school, and actually the high school youth organized, made this video, and conducted several different actions. So first things first, we went ahead and educated community members about where the route would take you, how it would connect you, what other routes it would connect you to, like rail stations, particularly the Orange Line, the Green Line, potentially the Red Line. So once that was done, they conducted surveys, and then they did a Bike the Route action day. So we biked it all the way from, which was about 8 miles, all the way from the high school to the lakeshore, because that's where we wanted to have the bus go. So when that ended up happening is that we were able to get the attention of the State Senator Martin Sandoval, who had just recently been redistricted to our area. So he was able to go ahead and champion to have this implemented. However, we did not get the full route. We got an extension of the number 35 bus route. So there's already a route that's just a little bit under 3 miles that goes east-west from Cottage Grove all the way to Kedzie. And what we were able to do is have that route be extended to serve the west end corridor of the South Lawndale community. And that was, again, through youth initiatives. And the reason that I came here today is because aside from the regular organizing that we do, which is, community engagement, and you probably heard plenty of it, flyering and getting the word out, we did a lot of data research. So we worked with a couple of different multidisciplinary students in undergrads in the fields of urban planning, civil engineering, communications, ethnic studies. So we had a very, very diverse set of students that came in and did an internship for 6 months. And what we did is we tried to sort of show and promote how having this route implemented would not just be good for the community, but good for CTA, because it will make them money. So eventually we were able to present this to the Chicago Transportation Board of Authorities, their board, as well as the Senator Sandoval, and we were able to have that route implemented due to the work. And we used Chicago data. So it wasn't like it was just us saying it or making things up. We used their own data to kind of show the statistics and the numbers of how feasible this route would be, and more than anything, how profitable it could potentially be, since this is the most densely populated youth under 25, which translates to potential workforce. So that's exactly how we were able to achieve this. Aside from this, we also have 2 other campaigns. We have our clean power, clean air campaign, which is the Crawford and Fisk coal plant. This September 2012, it was effectively shut down due to the Clean Air Ordinance. We also had been doing that for about 10 years. So right now we're working on the remediation of the site, making sure that it's cleaned up and that no new industry comes in to harm, the community. This plant was in the community since before its population change, and it had always been around, and it was causing approximately about 400 deaths a year in premature deaths. And it was a silent killer, but community members were not aware of it because a lot of times we don't have the resources to have somebody come in and kind of let us know what is in the air and what is invisible. So until we were able to put that data together, and then working with Harvard Medical School, we were able to legitimize our campaigns further, and that's how eventually the coal plants got shut down in Pilsen and in Little Village. And then lastly, our current campaign that we're working on is the building of a brand new 22-acre green space park. We were campaigning for this for 10 years. This was an urban agriculture open space effort. And finally, about 2 years ago, we were able to allocate that area, the 22 acre, which is adjacent to the jail. What is it called? The Cook County Jail, which is the largest jail there in the United States, the most populated. Right next to it, there's going to be a park now. So we got a lot of opposition for that, but we actually thought it was perfect because, I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, because a lot of people said, why would you want to build a park next to a jail? And I said, well, that's our monument in Little Village, and we don't want to just be known for the largest jail. We like to be known for the largest park. So again, it was through community efforts intensely. This was more cross-generational because it was a lot of our elder members who, to them, they wanted space to farm, and it's about keeping your roots close to your heart, using old methods and new methods to be sustainable, because we believe sustainable starts with community and it starts with these kind of efforts. So needless to say, we were able to get this site, but it was after a long battle, 10 years, and it's going to be the first park built in that area in over 75 years. So it's a big, this year has definitely been very good to us, but again, it could not have been done without the work of community, and I know you hear that all the time, but most importantly, without the work of the undergrads, which is why, I came here today to speak with you, and we're trying to reach out to college students all the time. One thing that we noticed, particularly myself being an undergrad, when you first graduate, everybody asks for experience in the field. And how do you have experience if you've been working and going to school all the time? And sometimes we don't have the ability to have direct access to whatever major it is that we're focusing in. So it's definitely been something that has helped out the people involved, the undergrads involved. So I'll give you an example. For our public transit campaign, we had an urban planner that helped create the route and make sure that there was a correct turnabout, and we had all the data together. She was an urban planner, and she's currently going to Champaign University in Urbana. When she came back from this internship, at the end of the summer, her urban planning professor, said that he had been working on the design of the BNSF rail, which is a connecting rail system of the 31st Street bus. And he asked her, what did you do this summer? And she said, oh, well, I implemented an extension of a bus route. So he was like, what? How? And from those connections, too, we've been able to more concretely establish a relationship with colleges so that they could also assist us in our efforts as we try to, gather data and legitimize our work through hard statistics. So it's been good all around. And I'm really proud to say that, this team has come a long way, and as people go on and graduate, they use their experience at LVEJO to not only enhance whatever major or field they're going into, but they've also helped the community out in the end. So it's a win-win situation for all. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And if you guys have any questions, I have a couple of our little homemade brochures about exactly our campaigns, how you can get involved. There's definitely always room for involvement, whether it be minimal or whether you have the time or Hello? Okay. You can still assist because we, like we said, we always have, even if when it's data. Sometimes when we would get, particularly from other, if you didn't have. So just we'll have our contact information. And I also want to let everybody know that we have internships, paid stipend internships available for the summer. Those would require outreach. So it does require bilingual in Spanish. But there's communication and research. So I have that information for you guys if you want to go ahead and find out more about the organization or you want to get involved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Claudia. It's wonderful. Actually, Claudia, we have a table waiting for you back there if you'd like to set up your brochures and people can come and chat with you. And thank you all. Please mix and mingle here. We've got lots of groups here. In the back, we've got groups still coming in. So visit Music for Lombok, and we've got Hospital Sisters Mission Outreach, Together We Cope, many, many others. Don't forget the Payless Restoration Project over here to my left. And get some food and talk with everybody. Thanks so much.